This is Mac OS Ken.
Something like normal for UK Apple stores, a higher target for Apple shares, and notes of uncertainty that aren't necessarily bad. It is Monday, the 24th of January, 2022. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Kandji, device management for your Apple environment. Learn more at kandji.io/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by BetterHelp, online counseling that's there for you. Finding a counselor or therapist can be tough for a lot of reasons. Where do you go? Do you have time? How do you know the person you end up with is the right person for you? Today's sponsor, BetterHelp, makes all of that easier. Where you go is wherever you go normally. See, BetterHelp is working with a licensed professional therapist online. Phone, tablet, computer. It's where you need it to be. As for time, well, you're not going back and forth to the therapist, so there's more time right there. Additionally, though, you work with your therapist in a way that is best for you. That's everything from scheduled voice or video calls to communication by text. As for whether they're right for you, you answer a series of questions and BetterHelp looks for the best match they can find. And if the person they find ends up not being a great match, switching to a better fit costs nothing. If you need someone to talk to, if you need help, give BetterHelp a try. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting today's sponsor at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. That's HELP, betterhelp.com/macOSKen. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that is BetterHelp, HELP, betterhelp.com/macOSKen. And thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's show. We used to read Apple Store closures and openings in the time of COVID-19 as indications of how things were going. Now they just read as an indication of how things are today. Today, things are more like the before times in parts of the UK. iMore ran a report over the weekend saying that just under half of the Apple retail locations in the United Kingdom are now open for walk-in customers, no appointment required. After operating its UK stores by appointment only since the beginning of the year, iMore says it can confirm that Apple has now reopened 17 stores to walk-in availability. The piece has the website for the 17 stores saying, "We're open and look forward to welcoming you. Shop by walking in, reserve a one-to-one session with a specialist, or buy online and pick up in-store. Get support at the Genius Bar, in-store, or by making a reservation." It is worth pointing out, as iMore does, that even walk-in welcome stores still require face masks, will still have limited store occupancy, are still practicing physical distancing, and still doing the intensive cleaning thing. The site says there is no discernible pattern to the stores with relaxed regulation versus the more stringent locations. Best to check before you go. The most up-to-date information would likely be on each store's site. You can also buzz by iMore for their list, and I will have that list up on the blog page of macOSKen.com. Wells Fargo analyst Aaron Rakers is excited about Apple, and he has upped his price target on the company to show it. Barron's had the analyst issuing a note on Friday looking for Apple CEO Tim Cook and Apple CFO Luca Maestri to accentuate the positive on this week's call with analysts. Quoting Commander Rakers, "We expect to focus on any commentary supportive of a belief that the supply chain is improving, continued confidence and strong end-user demand across the portfolio, as well as services and subscriptions momentum." Supply chain improvements would certainly be good news near term, though Rakers and company are looking a few days past tomorrow. Quoting his note again, "We believe the investment case for Apple has more to do with the company's monetization of the installed base through an expanded portfolio of products and services. For example, augmented reality, virtual reality, and auto. All of that, rather than the near-term setup," according to his note. Rakers is a positive rating on Apple shares. He used Friday's note to raise his price target on Apple shares from $165 to $205. Expect a spate of analyst notes this week headed into Thursday. That's because Thursday is when Apple will report earnings for the first quarter of fiscal year 2022, aka the December quarter. Numbers will hit Apple's site after the close of trading at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. Then the call kicks in at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Remainder Christmas candy to be served after. You can stream it as it happens on Apple's investor site. The company will make it available as a podcast soon after. Bloggers will blog. Twitters will tweet. Highlights will be hit here the day after the call. Signs of a couple of good quarters for Apple, with a hint of uncertainty to follow. Nikkei ran a piece Sunday with comments from current and former Foxconn leads. At least where Apple is concerned, the world is already expecting a good December quarter. Now Apple's largest manufacturing partner says they are running full steam ahead through the March quarter, barely letting the regional New Year slow them down. Nikkei has Foxconn chairman Young Liu saying, "The Lunar New Year is a time for family reunions, but as our performance in the first quarter is likely to outperform typical years, we will only have 2 days of holidays at several important facilities. This is a very prosperous situation that we have never seen before." Humanity side aside, that's good news. As for the uncertainty, Young Liu went on to say, "We think there will be even more challenges for 2022. However, that will also bring opportunities that we have not seen for decades." Nikkei had Foxconn founder and former chairman Terry Gou echoing Liu's thoughts on the year ahead. The piece says he agreed with the current chairman's assessment that 2022 will still be a year of both turmoil and opportunities. The next two big trends in Foxconn's estimation, by the way, electric vehicles and the metaverse. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has posted a post that may help rev Apple shares headed into this week. According to Gurman, Apple will, this fall, launch the widest array of new devices in its history. He says his back-of-the-envelope list includes 4 new iPhones, a low-end MacBook Pro, an updated iMac, a new Mac Pro, a revamped MacBook Air, an AirPods Pro upgrade, 3 Apple Watches, a low-end iPad, and some iPad Pros. To me, that sounds close to normal. But headlines heralding Apple's widest array of new hardware products in its history could give people the tingles. As for whether he's right, I feel certain we will forget to check come this fall. At least one firm following Apple thinks last week's theatrics on Capitol Hill may have been just that, theatrics. That it could be sound and fury, eventually coming to naught. The play in question was the American Innovation and Choice Online Act. According to a piece from the Next Web, the act says companies should allow competing businesses the same access to features and operating systems as the platform's own applications. That would, for example, give Spotify the same system-level access as Apple Music on an iPhone. Users should be allowed to remove pre-installed apps from their devices. Theoretically, that levels the playing field between third-party developers and companies like Apple and Google that make both the hardware and the software. And the piece says the bill prohibits these firms from taking advantage of non-public data to boost their own products or making their own products more prominently visible in front of consumers. The proposed legislation passed out of committee last Thursday and could now be taken up by the entire Senate. But an analyst with Evercore ISI thinks that may not happen, and even if it does, odds of it passing are not in the sponsor's favor. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note from Evercore ISI analyst Amit Daryanani. His note included a quote from Tobin Marcus, Evercore ISI senior U.S. policy and politics strategist. While talk of that legislation may dominate the current quarter, Marcus thinks the bill's passage is fairly unlikely. Quoting Mr. Marcus, the 16-6 committee vote overstates the level of support for the bill. Some Democrats, including the two senators from California, voted the bill out of committee in part as a courtesy to Minnesota Democrat Amy Klobuchar, despite expressing significant reservations, and several other Democrats have concerns and changes they want to make. Some of the Republican support looks soft as well, and getting Senate floor time for this bill before Congress largely shuts down for the midterms will be harder than some appreciate. Apple and Ericsson are at each other's throats again. Peter Cohen at RCR Wireless wrote up a story last week that had the Swedish telecoms company suing Apple over the Cupertino company's continued use of 5G technology in violation of Ericsson patents. Apple used to have rights to use the technology, but those deals expired, it seems. What's at issue, according to RCR, is how much Apple will pay Ericsson for the privilege of using 5G in its devices. Ericsson wants $5 per iPhone. Apple thinks it should pay less, since its market share is much greater now than it was in 2015, when the last patent agreement was set. What's more, said Apple, Ericsson's overall share of standard essential patents has decreased. Anyway, that's what was at issue, and still is as far as Ericsson sees it. Since Peter's story, though, Apple has countersued. A piece from Apple Insider has the Cupertino company arguing that Ericsson suing Apple in different jurisdictions for various amounts indicates that Ericsson does not want a court setting fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory terms for their patents. Anyway, it seems to be the argument. I kind of lost the thread somewhere in there. It looks like Apple is trying to get Ericsson back to the bargaining table. If Ericsson is not willing to withdraw all of their lawsuits and legal actions, the piece says, Apple wants the court to decide what a fair license fee should be. Perhaps as an added incentive, the iPhone maker has asked the U.S. International Trade Commission to block some of Ericsson's mobile infrastructure products from entering the U.S. Apple says the products in question violate some of Apple's patents related to millimeter wave technology, and I look forward to mostly ignoring this story for many months to come. More news in a moment, but first I am very happy to welcome a new sponsor to macOS Ken. It's Kandji, device management for your Apple environment. We've heard for years that businesses that run Apple hardware have less trouble with IT. But getting new hardware up and running can still be a pain. Not with Kandji. With Kandji, a new Mac can be ready for work in short order, with all the apps and settings that you want in place for your team. Devices managed with Kandji keep themselves secure. Apps are patched, macOS is updated, and security controls are enforced without active management from admins. Not that you're completely cut out. You want new updates to install as soon as they're available? Would you rather specify a waiting period before installing a new update? Kandji lets you do that without having to deal with individual users or their machines. Mac, iPad, iPhone, even Apple TV. Whatever Apple hardware your business uses, Kandji can simplify managing those devices. Go to kandji.io/macOSKen for a free demo and trial. That's KANDJI, kandji.io/macOSKen. Find out why companies like Lacework, Segment, Allbirds, and others use Kandji for zero-touch Apple device management. KANDJI. Again, that is kandji.io/macOSKen. Your free demo and trial are waiting at kandji.io/macOSKen. Mac Rumors says Apple has posted a Valentine's Day gift guide. As with every holiday, it seems, Apple thinks the best gift is something made by Apple. No special colors, no special offers, just Apple stuff for the apple of your eye, I guess. No more free EarPods in France. While Apple stopped giving out free headphones with iPhones in most places with 2020's iPhone 12, the company was forced to keep giving them out in France due to health concerns. The concern was that the RF emissions from an iPhone were worse when people held the phone to their ear to make or take a phone call. The Hexagon thought people should be urged to use a headset and thus forced Apple to keep giving them away at no additional cost. For its part, Apple had said that it was stopping with the free headsets to lessen its environmental impact. Now a piece from 9 to 5 Mac says environmental concerns in France have trumped health concerns, forcing or allowing Apple to stop with the included headphones. Citing a report from the French language site Consomac, the piece says a new law meant to reduce the environmental impact of such products eliminates this headphone obligation. Though Apple has said nothing publicly, it's apparently warned resellers that including EarPods at no additional cost will stop this week. 9 to 5 Mac figures that'll hit after existing stock has been sold through. News of another big deal for Apple TV Plus. Deadline says the Cupertino streamer has signed a multi-year deal with Skydance Media, this time for live-action entertainment. The two companies are already tied up on animation. The piece points out that Apple and Skydance have a multi-year partnership for animated films and series that has already seen the launch of the animated short film Blush, in order for the animated series The Search for Wandla, and orders for the animated films Luck and Spellbound. They also have already done live-action deals. Skydance produces the sci-fi series Foundation and the upcoming series The Big Door Prize. It's also the studio behind the upcoming Apple TV Plus film, The Greatest Beer Run Ever. Plenty more where that came from. Deadline says the new deal calls on Skydance to develop and produce an annual slate of live-action, global-minded movies that will be released through Apple Original Films. And finally today, get ready to go back to Central Park. Apple TV Plus issued a press release Friday announcing a premiere date for the second half of the second season of the animated musical series Central Park. When did that become a thing? Breaking up seasons for no apparent reason? When did they start doing that? I mean, it used to be if that happened, that meant the show you were watching was on the ropes. Now it's just a thing that providers do for no apparent reason. I will say, though, it is a great way to break me of the habit of watching your show, so keep it up. Anyway, same great cast, including Josh Gad, Leslie Odom Jr., Daveed Diggs, Emmy Raver Lampman, Catherine Hahn, Titus Burgess, and Stanley Tucci. Guest stars for Season 2 Part 2 include Billy Porter, Catherine O'Hara, Ellie Kemper, and others. The streamer also dropped a first look for Part 2 Season 2 in the form of a song. You can catch You Are the Music on YouTube. Apple TV Plus returns to Central Park, or vice versa, on Friday, the 4th of March. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by BetterHelp, online counseling that's there for you. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Kandji, device management for your Apple environment. Learn more at kanji.io/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, That is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.